Gear up as Cash Miller and a team of accomplished guests steer you on an enlightening voyage filled with valuable tips, fresh insights, and effective strategies. Welcome to Marketing Masters, the Agency Power Show.
Hello, everyone. This is Cash Miller. I'm the host of Marketing Masters and the CEO of Titan Digital. Today, I've got with me Chase Friedman. He's with Vanquish Media Group. Chase, it is great to have you here. We're going to be talking about, like your brand, but having a purpose behind it and how you kind of, put yourself out there. It's been something that, companies have really had to consider in the last decade and stuff, more so than I think ever, before. So it's great to have you with us. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your agency, what you do.
For sure. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. So I'm the founder of Vanquish Media Group and a fractional CMO. We're a brand marketing agency that serves and empowers what I consider purpose-driven leaders, businesses, organizations. And our belief is help them achieve a balance of profit and purpose, right? The way we do that, we help develop their unique brand identity and messaging positioning from a strategic level, create an actionable strategy blueprint for growth. And then, of course, the final tier of it is going and executing that digital marketing to get measurable results and impact, But that's how we serve our clients.
Yeah. So we're talking, businesses and such, having a purpose and kind of incorporating it into their brand and stuff and who they are, because, when you're thinking purpose, there's a lot of different, benefits from it. It's how you're perceived, by customers, it's, potential employees, your existing employees and such. So there's multiple facets, to it. Let's start with the simplest thing of why businesses should really define their purpose, whatever it may be, like what's the benefit to them?
It's a great question. So I think this starts really at a personal, at a leadership level as well. If you don't have a purpose of where you're going, how are you going to plan on how you're going to get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is that compass, that North Star that drives you? I'm a big proponent of Napoleon Hill, and the principles of success. His first principle was definite major purpose, defining that.
Yeah.
Everything else falls from there, right? So, when I say purpose, that doesn't necessarily mean, go change the world, solve climate change, social injustice. It is simply having a clear identity of where you are trying to go and what you are trying to achieve. And from a business sense, that should really kind of flavor and guide all of your strategic and execution efforts along the way.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's talk about the kind of purposes that, because you just said, it's not necessarily about social injustice or even environmental causes or anything, because we think of those as kind of, really big, overarching, but they're not necessarily where organizations need to go. So if it's not those kinds of things, what can it be?
Well, it could be it could be anything. And like I said, it starts with some self-reflection, right? What do you want out of life and business? What is a reflection of your identity? You shared with me a little bit about how you love to kind of educate and empower, aspiring business owners and leaders, right? To me, that's a purpose that I see as what, drives you. This can be simply doing better for your own stakeholders and team members. This can be helping uplift and support your community. This can be, bringing about better health and wellness for, your community or society at large. These are things that I feel are innate and help really inspire and activate both yourself as a leader and your team.
Yeah, no, that's good. Because like you mentioned, community, because a lot of businesses, I think a lot of times when we think of this stuff, we think of large corporations and such, and and what they're doing. But really, it's for any organization. It's not a matter of size. It is a matter of consideration on the part, and it could be what is driving the business owner. Because we think of organizations and stuff, but when you have large companies, you have CEOs, you have boards, and potentially, and things like that, and they might drive the direction. Okay, but that might be temporary. You could have a CEO in charge for 2 years, and they come back. I think, and I'm going to bring it up. I think Disney right now, because you had Bob Iger, and then he was replaced, and then of course they've been in arguments with Florida, and then you get into he's come back, and what's going on, and you've got the strike going on with the writers and actors, and boy, there's some arguing going on between Disney's leadership and those entities.
You're spot on, Cash. I mean, people think of it as this luxury that just big organizations should be kind of crafting. And unfortunately, a lot of them are just checking boxes, right? They're just kind of value signaling. I firmly believe, and I've worked with Fortune 100 companies on this kind of stuff. I love working with more small, medium-sized businesses because I think they are the best equipped to instill this degree of purpose. They're more agile, they're more nimble, they're more, they're more really kind of in touch with reality and their consumers and their communities. And this is not rocket science. This is just about what do I love about what I do, right? And what's the joy I want to bring, whether you own a restaurant and you love serving people and making them feel good through food, or you're a doctor and healing. It's all there for any business owner. I guarantee you all of us have kind of that deep-rooted purpose. It's just, how do we bring that to the forefront? Don't hide behind it. Share that openly with what makes you passionate about what you do. And I guarantee you, the research is there. People want to buy from, work for, and invest in value-aligned companies like this.
Yeah, it could be, so some different examples kind of, on what you mentioned. You could be a restaurant owner. Yeah, they put out great food. They love doing that, but they also help the local food bank, because they want to do something there, and they realize, hey, there's stuff at the end of the day, that we can't use. It's going to go to waste. It's going, let's give it to an organization that can actually still make use of it, even if we, can't, because this is going to help them, and we should be doing this, because the easy thing would be to throw it away,
I love that example. It's like, hey, we're this restaurant. We love feeding people and filling the soul through food, right?
Yeah,
but guess what? Not just our customers. There's people out there that need to be nourished as well. And this is how we're helping them too, right? And not only are we doing good, our customers feel good as patrons, what they're paying for. Hey, a little bit of this is going to go back to someone in need. It's a little bit of everybody wins. I mean, I'm a firm believer that these go hand in hand. These are not mutually exclusive, that you can profit with purpose. You can do good and do well. And it just simply rises the tide.
Yeah. And your purpose doesn't have to be necessarily one thing. You mentioned I had said that I like, being able to, coach a little bit with up and coming entrepreneurs, or, what they got to do, things they're going to face. And I do like doing that. But also for years, we have a large university here. It's like the largest in the state of Tennessee. And so for years, we've been willing to take interns from them. And anytime, and I will be flat out, we never have paid interns and stuff. But I've also never had them work on client projects. It is a no-go with us.
Right.
We bring them on because it's like, here, I've always thought it as job prep. We hired a number of interns out of the, because of that over time, that brought them on as actual employees because we saw their, the level of work. But even if we didn't have a need, we always set them up with projects that were things we'd already done. We want them to get an education, and that's how we would, I guess frame it for them. It was like, hey, the point of interning with us, we're not using anything you do. All we are doing, we're going to prep you with real world job skills. And we would set them up with projects based on things we'd already done. So that way I can give you the full creative brief if you're a graphic designer, and you'll create something original. Like I say, we're not giving it to the client or anything. This is for your portfolio. And we did this with the idea that we want to give back to those that are also entering the industry. Get them, if they can build a portfolio, doesn't matter whether we hire them, we're helping them so that another organization can do so. Because they need something as a real world example. So there are different ways that you can give, have a purpose. And that was that's been part of our purpose, is being able to give young people a start in the industry.
I think that's phenomenal. Like, honestly, bravo. That's, to me, and I'm sure clearly it inspires you the way you talk about it as a passionate leader. I'm sure it inspires your team to know that this is kind of part of the culture of the company. But what you're describing, I think, is fantastic. When we think of doing good in the world, right? historically, traditionally old hat model, a lot of people think of just kind of a one-to-one give, like a philanthropy. All right, at the end of the year, I'll donate some extra proceeds or whatever. That's like give a man a fish. But if you can teach a man to fish, if you can help elevate and develop and upskill these new recruits, that's creating shared value. You're doing this in your own community. You are grooming the next wave of talent, which some of them might come and work for you one day. You're grooming kind of the talent pool, or you're at least helping them help others along the way when they are ready, which is just paying it forward.
Yeah, and in our particular city, like I say, just continuing the example a little bit, we're south of Nashville. So for those people to get real world experience, we don't have a bunch of agencies in our city. So for them to get real world experience, they needed to commute to Nashville. Now we can do more remote work, but that's not always the case because remote work has a lack of training because it's not hands-on for someone that's brand new, right? If you're experienced and you already know what you're doing, then okay, it's, totally, obviously we can do that, but you don't need constant hand-holding and stuff, and I always looked at it like, say, we've always had to make, time for these people. And that takes away from our employees actually doing their job. So, like I say, but we're still doing it with the intent. Like I say, we might be training somebody else's next employee, but, it's kind of like, I'm a believer in karma a bit, it's like, if I do this, then I'll get repaid and it'll be in some other fashion, so, what other ways can, or I guess, if you're an organization and you're kind of analyzing, your own situation and trying to find those opportunities, things that can help your define your purpose. What should you be looking at and doing to really figure it out?
Yeah, I think you got to start from the inside out, quite frankly. I think you need to really sit down and listen and understand and have the conversations with your internal team, right? From the bottom up and the top down. Hey, what brings you joy about your job? You might not love every bit about it, but what's your kind of red thread? Like, what do you love about what you do in this capacity, whether it's customer service or design or accounting? And I guarantee you'll find a lot of great insight and wisdom, things that you didn't think about as a leader because you're busy running the company, right? But if you can kind of listen and incorporate some of that, that value, that purpose from your team members, they're going to be your biggest advocates, right? They're going to be your frontline ambassadors so that it's not just you touting on social media, look how good we are and all the good we're doing in the world, right? That can ring empty pretty quick. But if your team is living this, breathing this, feels connected to it, they're going to not only perform and go to bat for you every day, but they're going to want to spread the gospel with friends and family. And that's a great way to kind of start to build that from the inside out. Yeah,
I always like when you're using like social media and stuff in this regard, it's you're spreading the word, you're spreading what you're doing and stuff. And if you can get it more organically where your employees are doing it and stuff, and for that to happen, you have to define what the purpose is. What is that, that thing you're trying to strive to be. Okay. And those things that you do. And if you have buy-in from your employees, they become brand ambassadors, inadvertently because they think, they really like what you're doing as an organization. And this goes to helping from a top line, position of it can increase your sales and stuff because other companies want to potentially work with your organization because you're doing these things, because they have similar beliefs potentially, stuff like that. Because they are doing it within their organization. So they see you as having, yours has, similar goals and stuff. You could be totally different in how you're going about it, but the mission is something that they can recognize.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It shouldn't be. It should be as simple and clear and coherent as possible. And that's a lot of the work that we do. When I say purpose-driven organization, that doesn't mean a company that already has it figured out. Many of these companies have the potential for that. It's just, helping them develop, define, and really crystallize, clarify what their brand identity and messaging needs to say. And that really needs to color everything else that you do. And that's why we work in kind of these phases. First, it starts with discovery, getting clear, getting a deep understanding of who you are, what you believe, what your messaging is, what the story you're telling is. And then we can start talking about, great, let's start to showcase that in our collateral, our website, our social media efforts, our content marketing efforts. A lot of people like to start at the end and work backwards. Well, we need a social media campaign. Okay, well, what are we saying? And why are we doing it?
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I've always noticed with like marketing agencies and stuff, and especially advertising agencies, traditional ones that have been around a long time, you'll go to their about pages and you'll see these teams and they all look so happy. We have all these people and stuff, and they think that that's their like the whole definition of everything. They'll have like crazy pictures or something. Look, I have my cat, like we're animal friendly or something, it's like, but is it really how you've defined yourself? Have you actually, or is this just, like say, it's more of a, we did it because, I feel like in the advertising industry, there's like this perception that has been tried to do, been developed as an industry over time that is like, hey, working in this industry is the greatest thing ever. And we're all having so much fun and there's beanbag chairs and all of this kind of, and we've, and snacks all day. And like, that's kind of what, as an, industry, sort of that perception that's developed and such, and they kind of stick to that. And I'm like, seriously, like there's so much more to it. You need to define your own organization. And if that's part of it, part of your culture and stuff like that and fun, okay, that's fine, but what else is there to it? Yeah.
Yeah. Strategically, look, this happens with most companies, right? Your message is communicated 1,000 different ways, depending on who in the company is
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what do you do for a living? Or what is your company all about? The messaging gets distorted depending on who's delivering it. Or, if you can't define it clearly, your customers shouldn't be expected to.
Yeah, right.
So you're losing out, customers, your competitors, because your customers don't fully understand who you are, what you do, what you're all about, right? And they're not building that emotional kind of bond there. And not to mention, consumers are more enlightened and savvy than ever before. We're being bombarded by thousands of messages a day. Our brains are wired to filter most of out the crap and only let in the stuff that connects and resonates. So without a clear message, it's not even penetrating, the initial impression they get when they scroll on their feed.
Yeah. How do we take the message though? And, if we're trying to, connect with our customers and our audience, how do we align the two though? Because, we're looking internally, but now it needs to resonate with who we're doing business with.
Great question. Yeah, that's really about positioning yourself in the market, right? So now that you've identified, who you are as a brand, your identity, working within kind of the 12 archetypes, right? This has been in existence since the dawn of storytelling and psychology. We're not as different as we think we are. We have kind of some similar innate sort of likes, fears, desires, motivations. So understanding your sort of brand identity and archetype, and understanding who your customer is, really developing a clear, coherent picture of your audience persona and what they want, what they desire, what they are seeking, and finding that common ground. Doesn't mean adapting and bastardizing yours to fit theirs or vice versa, but it's going to give you a clear picture of, okay, great, this is who we can best serve because we're speaking the same language.
Well, it helps you start to define who your actual target audience is, because if you're thinking from the standpoint of purpose, often businesses will say, well, we serve all of these people, because they all buy this or something. But then, and the thing that I would think of is organic brands, food brands and stuff like that have said, yes, we make this product. And technically everybody can drink it, or eat it or whatever it might be. Creamers is actually a really good example, right? Yeah. Like tons of people use coffee creamer, right? But there are certain creamers, creamer brands that have become very specific, and they're much more expensive. Like I say, you take one of those that Coffee Mates or whatever that are normally like $3, $3.50 or something, and now suddenly
like apocalypse proof that'll stand for 20 years and they'll still be good.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But now you've got organic, and they're like, hey, we're using these ingredients and stuff, and they're saying, we care about, it might be the environment, the way we're doing this is being more sustainable, all of these things. And we're also saying, though, that's our audience.
That's
So
right.
we're building our brand around this. This is who we are. And if you want to drink the cheap crap, that's like, full of sugar or whatever, that's you. And, but we're not trying to be you. We're not trying to be everybody. We're trying to be that.
And that's where you win. It's finding kind of your niche, finding your tribe, and not trying to be all things to all people. But you bring up a good point because, again, the research is overwhelming. People are willing to 2 and 3 consumers are willing to pay a price premium for products and services and brands that align with their value and their identity.
Yeah.
So you're talking about margin, right? And that's all branding. It doesn't mean, sure, there's better ingredients to some extent, right? But you take a look at Apple, right? People aren't paying these price premiums because they have the best, technology or megapixels or guts in the actual phone. It's actually quite similar, if not inferior to some others that are lower cost. They're buying that identity, that aspirational kind of that connects and resonates with them. And that's what's cool is the data and the research is showing overwhelmingly people are willing to, be more loyal to these brands, be brand ambassadors, pay more, choose you over the competitor who just is, the average creamer on the shelf that's rather generic,
Yeah, I think and there's like different ways to do this. In the case of I'll go back to another like food related item and talk coffee for a second. Because coffee has done it from a sustainability standpoint and saying we support small farmers.
Right.
Okay, so it's not even just it's sustainable. It is a matter of we support small farmers in third world countries and stuff that are growing great product. We're asking you to pay a premium so that we can give them a fair wage, so it's things like that. It's like saying, hey, we're telling you up front, we're going to do this a little bit, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but every time you buy, a bag of coffee grounds or whatever, or beans from us, this is helping support this person's family over here that is maybe a small coffee farmer that's got 20 acres or something, and they can only grow so much, and if we didn't do this, they would struggle to survive, and so that is our mission. It's like I say, it's a good product, yes, but our mission is that we're supporting those farmers.
And the truth is people buy an emotion first, logic second, right? And so if we're inviting them into that story and they're buying emotionally based off whether it's a price premium or not, they'll go for that. Now, I know there's a lot of people probably listening, rolling their eyes. Well, that's not always true. And what about the low cost options? I get it. If you're looking for kind of the winner on price and just the simply lowest cost, and there's some goods that I do, any of us do, we know who those players are, the Amazons, the Walmarts, whatever of the world, right? That's fine. They know who they are and they are just going to win on price. However, right, when you're talking about building a lifetime customer value, or, a brand ambassador who's going to be a repeat buyer, how many times are you going back to just that low cost, easy option because it's there on the shelf? I mean, are you really an advocate of that lower cost product or service?
Yeah.
Or is it just okay for right now?
Yeah, you're really not, because there's going to be another low cost option, or service. And so you're not loyal to the brand. You're loyal to the fact that it's cheap. And if you give me something else that's cheap, I will buy that just as easily.
Yep.
It's kind of like the Walmart Great Value brand. Well, if I see another brand that's, 10 cents less, I don't care. I'm not
you
loyal.
You don't even remember the original one you bought last week that was, of the time, the flavor of the week lowest price option.
Yeah. So, I bought medium roast. That's what I know.
Exactly.
And I'm looking at the sizes or whatever, and so it's, but so when you pick a purpose and you're building your brand and you're building out, like I say, you could be selling a product, it could be a service or whatever. There are multiple ways to go about it, whether it's who you're partnering with. If you're saying this is a more sustainable way to go, this is helping, like I say, small farmers, or this is helping your local community. There's a number of approaches that you can take to this, to be able to do it. And that's why you have to look at who you are, how you want to be perceived. Yeah. And what matters to you, because at the end of the day, that's also, if you're going to be passionate about it, if you're going to say, hey, we're really going to do this, you have to, as a individual business owner, but also as an organization, you have to support that mission.
Yeah, and not just when it's super convenient. And that's where you see a lot of these pivots and quite frankly, a lot of large companies, you know, their commitment to purpose sometimes is on a quarter to quarter basis, right? How do we do this quarter? Oh, well, it's not as convenient. Profits are lower. We're going to slap, you know,
Yeah.
and that creates a lot of blowback and inauthenticity. You mentioned it with, you know, some of the larger conglomerate companies, Fortune 100 companies where, you know, the economy should not dictate when it's convenient for you to commit to purpose. And your audiences, social media, your customers, your employees will certainly, you know, call you on it if you're just kind of going as the wind goes on it.
Yeah, like I say, I'm an avid, you know, like business book reader and stuff. And a thing that came to mind, because, you know, the idea is like describing how you can find purposes and stuff here a little bit. One of the books I read, you know, not that long ago was Sam Adams. Yeah, it was Boston Beer Company. It was, you know, Jim Coke and stuff. You know, it's like, how do we or Koch, you know, but how do we, you know, why did he become that? And the mission of the business itself is because they wanted to brew a better beer because they came along in the 80s. And at the time, everything was Budweiser, Miller, and stuff, which is just not great. Yeah, I know there's plenty of buyers and stuff, but I don't drink it. You know, but their mission was that they wanted to revive, you know, and build up the craft brew industry. You know, because it was something that was not what drinkers were going for at the time, and there was a lot of other, you know, there were craft brews, you know, all throughout and stuff, you know, for hundreds of years, but they were never really taken off. And he figured out how to make it part of the, you know, like the mission of a better product.
Yes.
You know, just being that this is, yes, you're going to pay a little more. It wasn't about, you know, being more sustainable or anything like that. It was just a better beer, better product than everybody else and stuff. And they built and everything they did was around that. And then they would put in their support they weren't about crushing other craft breweries and stuff that were out there. They were, you know, a leader in trying to build up the industry and saying this can benefit everybody else. And we can do it better than a lot of these large brewers that are not, you know, their product is just not that great and stuff. You know, there was a recent instance. The oldest brewery in America is called Anchor Brewing.
I know.
Have you heard? Yeah,
heard about this.
And they're going out of business because they had been bought by a Japanese brewer that didn't understand the American market, and the entire time, they're working on saving it. Might be employee buyout, something like that. But the entire time I've been thinking Sam Adams needs to come in and just buy this company. Okay.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it would be a cool turnaround, though, you know, to be able to see, you know, the employees, you know, co-op together and buy it out. I mean, that's just an ultimate testament around these people love their jobs. They are proud of the beer that they've created and worked for, the legacy of it. For a big organization, it's a minor kind of write-off on their bottom line. But for these people, this is their livelihoods, their pride, their passion, and they're not willing to let it go.
Yeah, and it's the oldest craft brewer in the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, that is worth saving, and that becomes the mission. And if the employees get the opportunity to buy it, or another, you know, organization that is in the States gets to, you know, buy it with the intent of saving that brand, that's your mission, and it becomes, let's save Anchor Brewing, because it's like, you know, it's a worthy thing.
I'm feeling, you know, it's almost Friday. I'm feeling motivated to go buy some Anchor Brewing right now. It's like, as a consumer, I want to endorse that. I mean, I don't want to see this legacy historical brand kind of go off the shelves. It's a great craft brew, and I want to support the people and the teams. And, you know, great. Tell me what to pay for it. I'll buy. I mean, you're giving people something to believe in.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So the thing is so the idea being that your mission can come from so many places.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of things. If you look in at what you do, you know, the people that work for you, the people that you serve and stuff, you know, the mission can come from all sorts. And that mission, you can use it to your advantage as a business, you know, to help, affect your bottom line, you know. And that is what you want to be able to do. But then there is, you know, but business is also about more than just making money. You know, like I say, it can be used for, you know, really good purposes and such, if you think about it, and you can benefit from it.
Yeah. Yeah, great analogy. I mean, again, creating shared value so that it again ties.
Yeah. So, if you're a business and you're really, let's say you want to start analyzing and you want to say, okay, how do I do this? How do what do you advise as far as, the organization, the leadership and stuff like that, really starting to like, where do they start to be able to figure this out for themselves? What, because it's like, what do I want to be when I grow up,
Yeah. Look, that's my passion. That's my purpose. That's what I love doing to help, people develop, identify, clarify that for themselves. That's kind of my way of if I can help do that for others and help them find kind of that clarity, passion, purpose in their path. And then, in turn, their business does better and they help others. So let's have a chat, whoever you are. No, but it does. It begins from a real kind of deep dive in terms of, getting clear with, what is your why? What do you believe? How are you uniquely differentiated in your market? And then of course, what do you offer? But I would argue something that's missing in, the Simon Sinek, golden circle thing is really the who, right? Who are you? That kind of flavors everything else. Defining your definite major purpose. And sometimes that's just for life. I guarantee you it can be a proxy for business as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. We always say, what is our why? Actually, start with, what is our who? Who are we?
Who are you?
Yeah,
if you don't understand that, how can you answer the why?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So, you got to, ask, some additional questions here to be able to get there. Yeah. But if you do this, you can get where you want to go as an organization. And as an organization, top down, you can feel more driven, I think, about what you're doing. And it becomes more than just, what you're doing for the company. It's what the company is doing, in the greater, I guess, scheme of things.
Yeah, I've seen it's like a light bulb goes off. Once I'm working with clients and they hit that moment where it becomes clear for them, they feel reinvigorated about building the company, running the company. They feel inspired and passionate versus the company is just a burden to them. Activates and inspires them, their teams, their consumers. It is an absolute sort of, great, it has an exponential effect in that initial investment, but you got to be willing to do it. And get clear with who you are and why you exist.
Chase, I'm going to stop it right there because you summed it up perfectly. So we can't really add more to it. Chase, how would people get a hold of you?
Well, again, love to book a chat. So you can find me on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn. You can visit our agency website, vanquishmediagroup.com, book a call. And again, whatever stage of the journey you're at, hopefully I can kind of give you some enlightened kind of guidance and point you in the right direction, whether you find it for yourself or not. But again, I'm a firm believer, every single leader business out there has the potential to kind of do a greater good in the world and profit with purpose. So.
Well, this has been another great episode. I'm Cash Miller, the host of Marketing Masters. I'm the CEO of Titan Digital. And if you're looking for purpose, you should be as an organization. I hope you get something out of this episode and how to pursue it. And if you need a master at it, contact Chase. Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate you having me.